G'day guys, welcome back to the Rugby League Guru podcast. We have got the Dolphins best 17 as selected by me today. If you want to go and check out all this content in the Roo Crew, this was available just over a week ago along with all of our other team lists and the ones that are still to come in a week or so on YouTube. So if you want to join the Roo Crew, the best rugby league community, go and join today. The link is in the description. $8 a month, $2 a week, or you can get 10% off a yearly subscription. All of our rumors, all of our stats, all of our exclusive content. It's going to be honestly too much in there for you to fucking deal with this year. Go and join it, be a part of the community, come to our live events. It's going to be sensational. All the behind the scenes stuff and whatnot, you know the drill. Let's get stuck into the Dolphins for 2025, their third season in the NRL, but their first season without Wayne Bennett, which will be the big talking point this year. Now, I've gone through and I've done my Dolphin side like every other team. I've done my best 17. I've heard a bit of mail and whatnot from up there at the Dolphins about what their side could look like, so we'll talk about that as we go through. And to be honest with you, there's some decisions they've made that at the when I first heard them, I went, fuck, I don't know about that. But I've actually come around to them, to be honest with you. There's some that I've heard they're making that I don't love as well, but I can understand where they're coming from. So we'll go through all that today. Let's kick off with the fullback jersey. He is an absolute shit-in, an absolute certainty. There is no question marks over who will be the fullback for the Dolphins. Tabuai Fido, Hamiso, the Hammer. He has been electric over the last few seasons. One of the best fullbacks in the league. One of the most exciting fullbacks in the league. He will be in the fullback jersey. Keep in mind, guys, Trey Fuller playing in the Queensland Cup at the end of last season actually did an ACL, I believe, so he's out for the majority of the season. If Trey Fuller was available, I would actually be willing to have conversations about maybe playing Hammer in the centre and getting Trey Fuller into the team because I rate him so highly. But that is only to fit more guys in there, and I know Hamiso can be an elite centre. But right now, he is the best fullback option by far and away. He will be the fullback come round one. Let's move to the wingers. I've got Jermaine Asako on the right edge. Obviously, Wayne Bennett resurrected his career over the last few seasons. I'm very interested to watch him and see how he goes without Wayne Bennett in the building now. But I think Asako's been so good the last few years. I still think he's going to hold his own there. So Jermaine Asako on the right, he will be the goal kicker there. On the left edge, I like the West Tigers recruit, Bill Tupou. I really like the look of him. Every time I've seen him, I've been impressed. He's very raw still. There's no denying that. He's got some errors in his games and whatnot. But I don't know, the Dolphins have been really good with getting the best out of their outside backs over the last few years, and I think he's got huge upside. I know he's been pretty impressive up there at training so far. I think he'll be on the left wing for the Dolphins. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Hold on, Rookie of the Year last year, Jack Bostock, who just jumped out of the ground last season, one of their better players last year. I completely agree with you. From what I've gathered, he's going to make a move into the centres. Apparently, he's been training there. I like it, to be honest with you. I think that you'll find he'll be at right centre inside Jermaine Asako. And look, centre, it's a very tough position. We've seen a lot of wingers transition to centre and sort of struggle. We've seen Ruben Garrick, I think he's one of the most elite wingers in the game, move to centre. And he's been good, but like he has been hit and miss at times and whatnot. I've spoken about it quite a bit on the podcast. We'll see how Jack Bostock goes. Defensively, it's going to be a big challenge. I know that he had played a lot of centre before he arrived in first grade on the wing. He's obviously going to be swapping sides as well. So we'll see how he goes, Jack Bostock, but I think he's a very, very good talent. I said to you guys a lot throughout last year that, and I wasn't meaning this by any means, or realize what I was saying, but he reminds me a lot of Campbell Graham. When Campbell Graham first came into first grade, he was playing on the wing and then he made the shift to right centre. I can see Jack Bostock being successful there as well. A really good kid with a big future. Hopefully centre is his spot. We'll wait and see. Worst case scenario, if it goes to shit and it doesn't work, they can move him back to wing. But I like taking the gamble. I'm keen to see how he goes. I think he'll do well there. So Jack Bostock at right centre, I believe. Left centre, obviously Herbie Farnworth, Dally M Centre of the Year last year with Stephen Crichton. He was tremendous. One of the more damaging players in this competition. So Herbie at left centre, Jack Bostock at right. Guys, I believe that's pretty much going to be the side, the back five that the Dolphins are going to pick. It sounds like they are the favourites for those positions and how they've been training so far. And I think it's a brilliant back five. Really keen to see how Tupou goes up there. He's obviously been at the Tigers. With all due respect to the West Tigers, they're obviously not well known for getting the absolute best out of players. So I think a change of scenery for him, change of coaching, I think that'll be really good for Tupou. His potential is absolutely enormous. So keen to see how he goes. Now, if I'm picking Tupou on the wing, that means I'm picking Bostock in the centres. Avarillo's the name that doesn't have a spot at the moment. It sounds like he is going to be right up there as far as playing 5'8". So I think it will be between Avarillo and Nikorima. They obviously played Avarillo there at the back end of last season. I know from talking to people at the Dolphins, they feel like he's a lot more grounded this year and whatnot, Avarillo, and he'll be better for the run. Coming into it, when you come from, the Bulldogs, you've been there for so long, you don't know anything different. Sometimes it can just take time to get used to a new place and a new system and whatnot. So keen to see how Avarillo goes. Defensively, I have a lot of concerns about him playing 5'8", but I have a lot of concerns about him playing centre as well, defensively, realistically. So I'm keen to see how he goes. He's got a lot of ability, Avarillo. I've said for years, I think fullback is his best position, but I don't think it makes sense for him to be the fullback in this side. 5'8", I think he's a good ball player. It's just defensively I have my concerns, but realistically, Cody Nikorima's no defensive juggernaut either. Very good in attack. So I think they're reasonably like-for-like players. I thought Nikorima was really good last year in the games that he played, and I probably would have gone with him. But I don't know, the Avarillo thing, when I heard it, I sort of went, I don't know about it. But I don't know, I'm sort of coming around to it, to be honest with you. Once again, if it doesn't work, they can make a change, go back to Nikorima. He knows the systems. He knows how to play with Isaiah Katoa. So once again, I'm willing to sort of take a punt. I do have concerns, if I'm being completely honest, about the entire right edge changing. You will now have Jack Bostock at centre. You'll have Avarillo there. New defensive combinations. Bostock hasn't played centre in first grade before. Avarillo, defensively, there are issues there. So there is a little bit to take in there. I'm not sure who the edge back rower will be. We'll get to that very soon. But that is one concern, but I'm happy to see how it plays out. Halfback, Isaiah Katoa. Obviously, I loved hearing him talk in the media the other day about how he wants to improve his fitness and be better for season 2025. Did pretty well for Tonga at the end of the back end of the season. Has had a big first 2 years of first grade. Could probably rest on his laurels a little bit if he wanted to. He's not. He's working on his fitness. I just like that. I like that. Obviously, losing Wayne Bennett isn't good. Don't get me wrong. But he's now working with Christian Wolf, who he's worked with, obviously at the Dolphins for a long time, but also with the Tongan side. So I think, obviously, Christian Wolf, he's no Wayne Bennett. No one is. But yeah, if he had to sort of be handed over to someone who's a rookie coach, I think Wolf's probably the best option. So keen to see how Isaiah goes. He's still only 20 years old, guys. That means he is more than half a decade away from his best football, as history tells us, with halves. But he's ticking a lot of boxes at the moment, and I still think he's got an enormous future, and I hope he retires at the Dolphins in 15 years' time. I think that'll be super exciting. Let's have a look at the forward pack. Daniel Saifidi, a big off-season recruit coming up from the Newcastle Knights. I am very excited to see how Saifidi goes up there. I've said for a long time with you guys at Newcastle, Saifidi, he's an origin prop. I quite often felt like for Newcastle, he didn't play up to that standard, and I feel like he didn't play up to that standard consistently, but he's got it in him. I think a change of scenery could be fantastic for him, getting up there with guys like Flegler, like Gilbert, these sort of fellas, like your Felice Kafusis, your slightly older heads. I think it'll be really good for Daniel Saifidi, and I actually respect him a lot for making the move. I think it was time for a challenge for Dan Saifidi, and I think this will be a big one, and I'm very, very keen to see how he goes. So, yeah, one I'll be watching very closely. To partner him in the front row, I've gone for Tom Gilbert, returning from injury and whatnot. I think he'll probably be the captain of this club for season 2025, still only 25 years old. When he was in the team previously, he owned the 13 jersey, and I think there's a good chance he could still own that 13 jersey. I know a lot of people are ruling him out straight away, saying he'll be in the front row and Plath will be the 13. I'm not totally convinced on that, to be honest with you. I think that's a space that we need to watch. I think there's every chance that Gilbert ends up being jersey 13 for the Dolphins. If I was picking the team, though, I would go for him in jersey 10. So my starting front rowers would be Dan Saifidi and Tom Gilbert, two Origin standard front rowers. Guys, obviously, if Flegler is fit and available, he will be there. I don't know. The optics aren't good up there with Tom Flegler from the stuff I've seen, and even just the media reports coming out. I'm not convinced he's going to be good for round one. And yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not sure when we're going to see Flegler. I don't know. The optics are just a bit weird. There's been numerous articles that he's ticking boxes, he's doing this, but they still can't provide any date for him to return. So nothing would make me happier than to be completely fucking wrong on this. But yeah, I'm not going to put him in my side right now. I'm going to pretend that he's not available because I think that's more than likely what the situation's going to be, at least for the early parts of the season. Hopefully he comes back later, but yeah, I don't know. The optics are a bit weird there. So for me, I'm going with Saifiti and Tom Gilbert to start in the front row. My edges, Connolly Lemuelu, who came down from the North Queensland Cowboys a couple of years ago. He's played the last 2 years there. I really like this guy, eh? I'm a big fan of him. Good in defence, can run a nice line, has a good little sneaky offload. He's got used to the system over the last few years. He's a starting edge back rower for me, and I think he can be for the next few years for them. I don't know if he's in if he's going to make these huge rep teams or anything like that, but I think Lemuelu can do a job for you. I don't think you're going to be paying him overs. I think he's a perfect sort of fit for the Dolphins on the edge there. The other edge, Finay Fuiaki, funnily enough, coming down from the North Queensland Cowboys as well. Man, the potential on this kid is huge. There's so many things to like about him. I love the explosiveness he's got. He's got a nice offload, a good motor. I think he will land on an edge. I think Lemuelu can play on both edges, and I think Finay Fuiaki can as well. So I don't know where it lands. I think a lot of it will come down to, the way that I would do it anyway. Your left edge defence is going to be Isaiah Katoa and Herbie Farnworth. They've defended together before. They're okay. I think it'll come down to whoever the best defender will go on the right edge to help out with Jake Averillo and Jack Bostock out there. That's how I do it. So we'll see how it all plays out. We'll watch in trials, but I think those two will probably end up being the edge guys. As I said, guys, jersey 13, I'd go for Maxi Plath. I absolutely love the guy. I think there's a very good chance, though, he will come off the bench this year for the Dolphins. And you know what? I straight away, my Supercoach mind and my mind that just absolutely fucking loves and adores Max Plath like he's a first son to me. I straight away went, how can he not start? That's crazy. But, the guy's young. He's putting his body through a lot. He's too tough for his own good. Maybe Max Plath playing 60 minutes might be the better play career-wise and just for him as well. I think if the Dolphins can get through the first 20 minutes with, Tom Gilbert, Saifiti, and maybe like a Mark Nichols or a Felice Kafusi on the field, honestly, playing Max Plath for the last 60, maybe at some point he can give JMK a little spell. It's a logic that I understand. It sucks for us in Supercoach and all that, but at the end of the day, I'll give you the hot tip. NRL teams don't give a flying fuck about our Supercoach teams. They're trying to win games of football. They're trying to do the best thing for their players, and I do think it kind of makes sense. I want Plath to start, but I can understand why they're looking at the approach that they are looking at. So Plath is in my 13 as it stands right now. Let's have a look at the bench. Now, jersey 14, look, I think Averillo is probably the favourite to land at 5'8". So Nikorima, I think he's, obviously the ideal 14. He can play a range of positions. He can add a little bit of spark. I will say this though, Donahoe, who we did a bit of work with last year, really good kid. He's got a couple of screws loose, which I absolutely fucking love. He's a goer. He can play a range of positions as well. He can play in the halves. He could play at fullback. You could chuck him at centre. Honestly, the kid's a lunatic. If he said go play prop, he'd go, yes, sweet, I'll play 80 minutes there. Like he's that sort of a guy. I think he's got a big future in our game. It's just about finding where his best spot would be. And when you've got guys like that, jersey 14 can be perfect. So between Averillo, Nikorima, and Donahoe, two of those guys will make up jersey 6 and jersey 14. Just depends which direction they go in there. So I don't think you can really go wrong, to be honest. I think they're three quality players who will do a job in those spots. Jersey 15, I'm picking the GOAT, Marky Nichols. It's a big concern for me when I'm picking these 17s that when you bring bench players on, especially bench front rowers, there can be a drop-off. Mark Nichols, he's not going to elevate things. He's not a big explosive guy, but he's strong, consistent, and he's safe, and he'll do a job for you. Mark Nichols in jersey 15, he's very highly regarded up there. I actually think he's a sniff to be like a co-captain or something up there. He's held in very high regard, so we'll see how that plays out. Jersey 16, it's sort of between two guys for me. Kenny Bromwich has obviously been a stalwart of this club for some time. I did feel like at the back end of last season he was starting to slow down a little bit, K-Brom, as he should be. He's 31, 32. His body's been through a lot. The other guy is Ray Stone, who I absolutely adore. Personally, I'm kind of leaning towards having Ray Stone there over Kenny Bromwich. I just like the leg speed that he brings. I like the attitude that Ray Stone brings as well. So the jersey 16s between those two for me at the moment, Me personally, I'm probably leaning away from the experienced head and I'm going for Ray Stone, but we'll see which way the Dolphins go. And jersey 17, Felice Kafusi. I think he is the obvious choice there, experienced campaigner in this side, also a guy that I think is a very good shot to be a co-captain with Tommy Gilbert or potentially standalone captain for a year or so, sets the tone in defense. And that's where I would love when you get through that first 20 minutes, you bring Plath on, you bring Felice Kafusi on, and it could be really dangerous. And if you are going to start Plath off the bench, I'd also be okay with Felice Kafusi starting in the front row. I think his days on the edge are probably over. I think playing 30 to 45 minutes through the middle, probably closer to the 30 to 40 minute range is probably the sweet spot for Felice Kafusi at the moment. I think he'll just set the tone, he'll set standards for them and just do a job for them. So that's my Dolphins team as it stands. Obviously heard a few things, heard things from people that have watched Dolphins training and from, on the internet and whatnot and all things going on. So yeah, that's the side that I've got and how I think they will line up as well. Guys that have missed that side, obviously, like probably a Donahue or a Nicarima will miss the side, I'd say. So great depth to have one of those guys sitting at 18th man. There's a Fangai brother up there as well who's very talented. Sean O'Sullivan as coverage for the halves as well. You've also got Trey Fuller that's injured. Oren Keeley, who I really like. He absolutely killed it in the Q Cup Grand Final last year. I think he scored 2 tries. I think he got man of the match in that game. He was very impressive. A really nice young kid as well who I think is going to be a bit of a cult hero once he gets into the side. Wonga, who's another one that they rate up there. I haven't seen too much of him, but I've heard people talk about him. You've obviously got Flegler, who I don't have in that team either. And, if Tom Flegler is all of a sudden available, you've got to throw an Australian front rower into that side and the dynamic changes completely. Then you got guys like Mason Teague and Harrison Graham who aren't in the side either at the moment. I just can't find spots for them and I'm not quite sure if they're ready to be consistent first graders as it stands right now. But the Dolphins, obviously they've got a young halfback, but he's done a job over the last few years. They've got to work out the 5'8" jersey. They've got, different edges combinations now, so it might